Hey friends, welcome to my channel. Today is a Friend Friday. Let's get crafting. For this DIY, we're going to be using some of these wood square planks, painter sticks, and then 7 of these long signs that you can get all year round at the Dollar Tree. They always use this sign for each holiday and season. So I'm going to start by just popping off that front 3D popped out holiday tag and then the ribbon and the staples off the back. Then I'm going to take 3 of them, bring them together where they're all lined up perfectly, and then glue down some long painter sticks. And this is going to allow the box to become stronger and stronger. So I'm also going to be cutting down a few pieces so that I can put them on the sides of the box, and I'll show that in just a second. But you can see here that once I've got things glued down, I'm stapling everything together. So we've got those joints in the middle and then on the very ends, and that's where the side of the box are going to start coming together. And the ones that I cut down, you can see here, I put them towards the top of 2 of the long ones, 2 of these long signs, and those are going to go on opposite sides. And then right now I have those last 2 signs. I'm going to be measuring how long I want it to be able to customize the top and the bottom of our apothecary drawer DIY. So I'm just scoring along this line once I had exactly where I wanted to cut, and then these snap really easy once you score it a couple of times on each side, and I'm just going back and forth to make sure I have a nice clean break. Then I'm going to start gluing on all of the sides. I make sure that when I put on the glue it's a nice thick amount, and then I'm lining everything up because you really do get one shot at this. So I'm making sure I'm lining everything up and pressing also in the middle to make sure if there's no bowing in the sign. Then I'm going to bring on the top and the bottom, and you can see where I cut down those wood sticks earlier, so that way I have a joint to be able to bring up the sides of the box. At this point the box has been completely built. It's really strong using all the reinforcement painter sticks, and now I'm gluing on all of my wood plank squares. I wanted to dress up this box a little bit to give it some decorative mold trimming, and so I'm using some of these long wood dowel sticks from the Dollar Tree as well, cutting them down to size where I need them to be with some wire cutters. And then up at the top I took a long popsicle stick. It wasn't long enough to reach all the way across, so I ended up having 2 pieces and I just brought them together. Now originally I did put some staples on the front of it and realized it was so strong at this point that I actually could take them back off, so I did. Gave it a nice coat of white paint, and now I'm coming in and distressing the box. This part really is up to you and how much you want to distress it, or if you want to do a different color, but I decided to go a little bit heavier around the box squares to make it look like they're old beat up looking drawers, because I really love how vintagey this is starting to look. And now I'm coming back in with some of these metal tags, and then I'm using a small eyeglass screw to be able to put in these screws. Just because they're so tiny, I thought that this would be the best option, but I made sure I drilled my holes first so that way I didn't struggle with trying to get through that wood. Then I'm adding on some handles and some knobs. I ended up doing little handles and knobs because I didn't want to use all of my knobs. These were actually a little more expensive than what I wanted to commit to put all on one project. So I kind of mixed them up and I went back and forth between these little handles and knobs. I will link everything I used for this hardware down below in my description box. And then at the very end, I just came up at the top and I painted on something cute which says Vintage Market Company. If you have never done a Friend Friday hop before, it's really simple. Linked down below in my description box, you will find the next channel in the hop. All you have to do is go down there and click on that link. It'll take you to the next channel. That channel will repeat the same process, taking you to the next channel until you've gone all the way around in the full circle of this hop. To make it easy on some of you that are unable to find the description box, I will also make sure I link that person and pin them at the top of my comments down below. For this DIY, I'm going to be using 2 of these garden fences and then 4 packs of these long painter sticks, and there's 3 in each pack. Now I'm going to start by cutting the very first one right at where the handle, the neck handle part is, where it goes to the straight part of the stick. I don't want to have that curved in piece. And then once I've got that first one cut, I'm coming back in and I'm marking that same length on 7 other of these long painter sticks. Then I'm going to line it up on one of these scallop bumps of the fence with one of the other ones. This is going to be the width of this frame that we're building. And you can see here that we're going to be building 4 frames. So each frame is going to have 2 really long ones and 2 really short ones. And we're not going to worry about mitering any pieces together, meaning where we cut at an angle and bring those 2 angles together. I just thought that would just be too tricky, too much work. So I'm just going to simply add on this shorter piece at the top and the bottom to create the frame with some hot glue, and then I'm coming back in with my staple gun and doing 2 staples at each joint. At this point, I've got all 4 of my frames built. They're long rectangle shapes, and now I'm going to come in with these mini hinges that I picked up from my local home improvement store, and I'm just marking where I want them to be, and then I'm going to drill in. And this is one of the other reasons why it was good that I didn't miter them, because it gave me a chunkier joint to be able to put these hinges on. So here I am, I'm just drilling those holes, and then I'm going to come back in. I actually ended up finding a drill bit that was big enough to be able to put on so I can screw on these little tiny screws. And then I went ahead and just screwed them in place so that now I will be able to open and close it. This is going to end up turning out to be so cute. I ended up having to take a break for like 2 seconds because Miriam asked me for some fairy dust, and I was like, sure, I can make you some fairy dust. So I'm just mixing it together 2 different ones because she asked for some pinky red colors, and you're gonna see in just a second. She picked it up and took it with her. Now that I've got frame 1 and 2 together, I'm going to show you that it's really important. This is probably the most crucial point of all of this project at this point, that I've got one facing down and one facing up, and that's so that we can be able to have it be able to zigzag back and forth, and that if you put the hinges facing the exact same way, you won't be able to do that. It'll just kind of create more of a circle shape. And then on that last one, you can see one is facing up, one is facing down, one is facing up for the hinges. And now it's going to allow me to be able to open this just like so. Now I'm ready to move on to my garden fence. I'm cutting off those tabs on the side, and then right at that middle point between the scallop bumps at the top, I'm cutting up it, and now I'm cutting off the leg. So they're a little too long to be able to put 2 on my frame, so I ended up cutting off the bottom a little bit more on one where it went into the little scroll, and then on the other one I only had to cut off the part that dips up into the scroll. So you can kind of see here, one's a little bit shorter, one's a little bit longer, and I'm just lining them up, and with my staple gun I'm just going to staple it all in place. Now I will warn you, with this part, it can crack and it can have little pieces chip off and fly across the room. So just make sure that you wear some protective eyewear, and then glue anything down where there might be a crack to make sure it's nice and strong. Then I took it outside. I decided to go with a pretty mossy green color, and I'm coming back in and sanding and distressing it, but you honestly could paint it whatever color you want. And once you're all done, you're ready to display it in your home, really cute for your decor. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope you are enjoying the content that you're seeing today. I'm so glad you stopped by. I hope you feel inspired by all of the crafts that I'm sharing today. And if you haven't already, please do give this video a thumbs up. It means so much to me, and it really does help out my channel. For this DIY, I'm going to be showing how to make a really simple wreath out of just these floral stems. Now, I know a lot of the times we always go and pick up the wreath forms, but you really don't even need that when you have these wire florals, because you can actually build the structure out of it. So I'm just cutting off some really long pieces of these leftover greeneries that I picked off all the flowers, and I'm bringing two together, and I'm not making them be the perfect exact same length. I'm having one be a little bit longer, and then I'm sliding the other one down, and I'm twisting them together to continue to make a very long line. And then I just keep adding on another one of those joints. I just keep rotating them around one another, twisting them together, and when I get it to the length that I want, I bring it around in a circle, and any of that greenery, I start to kind of weave it in, and I really make it as tight as I possibly can. At this point, you can see that I've made a wreath, and it cost me about $1 at this point. And now I'm just coming in with a bunch of random florals that I've had here in my craft room forever. I know we all have so many of these that are left over from past projects, and I'm just really weaving things all together to make it look really nice and tight in that circle wreath form. Now, I really wanted to go with a green and white look because I'm getting ready to start decorating for a certain season in my home, and I just really love that green and white clean farmhouse look. So now at this point, I'm adding in some flowers and some little bitty berries, and at this point the bow was the last finishing touch. For this DIY, we're going to be using a Dollar Tree wire basket, some foam squares, this really cute pinwheel sign that says welcome, some gingham ribbon, some burlap fabric, and then these tall grass pieces, these florals. I also added in some wildflowers. So we're going to start by taking that burlap, and we are going to line the inside of the basket, and we're going to let it hang over just a little bit where it looks real farmhouse chic. And then I'm going to come inside and I'm going to fill it in with some of the foam so it's nice and tight. And I'm taking my Sharpie marker to just push holes down in there because I took apart some of the grass. I wanted some to be a little bit looser and different heights. I wanted this floral project to have a very summery feel to it where it's got that tall wild grass and wildflowers. And then now I'm coming in with some white paint and I'm just going over it on my sign because I really wanted my sign to be white. Once it was all done, I just kind of came in with my scissors and scratched a couple spots to make it look a little rougher. Not too crazy. Like I've said before, I like a distressed look, but not too much. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to poke that down into my foam, glue it in place. And then I'm going to cut apart some of my wildflowers and little berries that I had. And I'm just going to simply start staking those around in that foam, making sure that I don't cover up the sign that says welcome. I want to make sure that they're low enough so they look like they're wildflowers. And this is out in a really pretty, cute farmhouse landscape field. Last I added a bow, and you know me, I can't help myself with these little tag signs. I just love putting them on my baskets. So I'm adding that to the bottom and it's all ready to be displayed. For this DIY, we're going to be taking 3 of these long signs, some painter sticks, and 4 of these round balls that you can use as feet on a tray. Now, I saw a tray inspiration on one of my favorite online sites that I shop from, and the tray was so expensive. I thought, no way, I can totally make that myself. So we're just gonna get our measurements. I'm lining up the sides of my tray box. I'm making sure I know. I forgot to mention I also used 2 of these big tag signs from the Dollar Tree as well. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But I'm just measuring everything out where I need my side cuts of my tray box to be. I'm just cutting those down to size. I've got 2 of those. And then I'm just now going to be coming in and making sure I can strengthen it by cutting down some of these dowels, and I'm going to use that to bring the sides together and have it be nice and clean versus having a bunch of screws on the side of my tray box. I wanted to make it look as clean as possible. So it's a little tricky at this point because you have to figure out where you're going to put in these dowel sticks. This is probably not the most professional way to do it, but it's how I did it, and it's just kind of how I roll in my craft room. I'm always just kind of winging it because I like to try to push my boundaries of creativity. So I took that little dowel, tapped it in some green paint, touched it on the two sides as lined up as I could, and now I'm just drilling in some holes to match the size that I need for the dowels to go down in there. And then I'm coming in on the long part of the tray, and you can see here I'm doing it on the side versus the ends. Then I went ahead and I put in my little dowels that I cut down, adding in a whole bunch of hot glue within all of the holes, and then I'm just putting that down in here. And I'm gonna pull out my gingham hammer every time I get this out and I start pounding on it. It sounds like I'm working in Santa's workshop. It always makes me laugh. I just feel so professional with my little hammer. Then at this point my box has been completely built by following that step all throughout all the sides. And now I'm going to measure out the bottom of my box, did a long line, and now I'm scoring it along and snapping it where I need to. Now these two signs are a little too long where they hang over the side of the box, so I had to take down the length of one of the long sides. So again, I'm just going to make a long line with my Sharpie marker, and then I'm going to score it and snap it. And you can see here how easy these snap. Sometimes it can be a little tricky when you get on an edge where there's not as much to grab onto, but I went ahead and just put on these once they were done being cut down to size with some hot glue, and I'm coming in with my staple gun to be able to staple it all in place. Now it's time to add on the feet of our tray, which is what we're going to be using these wood balls for. I lined them up where I wanted them to be, drilled a hole not too big because we want to be able to have the screw catch to it, but not where it's too small where it'll cause the sign to crack if you're not careful. So I went ahead and found the right screw and the right drill bit, and I'm just going to make sure my fingers are out of the way so that nothing comes through that wood ball, and I'm going to screw all 4 of those feet on. Now at this point you can go ahead and pick whatever color you want to paint it. I went with a pretty light gray color. I added on a handle and then did a little bit of distressing.
Thank you so much for watching this video today. I truly had so much fun creating these DIYs for all of you to try and check out. It means so much to me every single time you come back and click on one of my videos. I hope you enjoyed today's video and you feel inspired. Leave a comment down below to let me know which one you liked, which one you think you will try. Remember, don't forget to enjoy this Friend Friday hop, which is linked down below in my description box and at the top of my comments pin. And until the next episode, bye friends!